Cold open. Dale Kowalski was refilling the coffee machine at Precision Auto and Tire when the recruiter walked in wearing a suit that didn't quite fit human shoulders. Dale didn't look up. "We don't do walk-in oil changes till 2. "I am not here for automotive service," the being said, voice flattened by a translator box clipped to its collar. "I am here to offer you employment. Off-world. Hazardous. Compensation is substantial." Dale wiped his hands on a rag. 41 years old, divorced twice, bad knees from 20 years of concrete floors, and a coffee maker that hated him personally. "Hazardous how?" "Statistically, you will likely die." Dale shrugged and topped off the water reservoir. "Sure, when do we leave?" Warning scene. The recruitment office smelled like ozone and bad decisions. A tall officer with too many joints in her fingers slid a data pad across the desk. "Mr. Kowalski, I need you to understand. The survival rate for this classification of mission is 12%. Over the last standard century, we have lost 4 entire squads to the planet designated Kestrel 9. It is, by every metric our science recognizes, a death world." "Uh-huh." Dale skimmed the contract, mostly checking the pay figure. "You have no combat training. No environmental suit certification, no. I've changed a timing belt in a Nebraska hailstorm. I think I'll manage." The officer stared at him for a long moment, mandibles twitching in something that might have been the alien equivalent of a headache. "Don't blame me," she finally said, stamping the contract. "If you come back in a box." Her squad introduction. The briefing room held 4 chairs, and Dale was the last one to sit down. First was a Vren, a Kathi warrior with obsidian black chitin plating and 4 forearms, each one scarred with campaign markings. Vren was, according to the file Dale hadn't bothered to read closely, the youngest soldier in Kathi history to solo clear a hive fortress, decorated 3 times for actions during the long siege of Braxis. Minor. When Vren shook Dale's hand carefully, with just one of the 4, the grip alone could have popped a lug nut loose. Second was Thessaly Prime, a Voss collective researcher whose skin shifted color, based on ambient radiation levels, currently glowing a soft warning amber, just from the building's old wiring. Thessaly held 2 doctorates in xenobiology, and had personally cataloged 11 new apex predator species, 4 of which had tried to eat her during the process. She measured Dale with 4 independently rotating eyes and made a small clicking sound of disapproval. Third was Kowalski, built like an industrial refrigerator with legs, from a heavy-gravity world where the average citizen could deadlift a small vehicle. Orsk had spent 11 years in planetary demolitions, was missing 2 fingers from acceptable operational losses, and had a laugh like a rock slide. And then there was Dale. No plating, no color-shifting skin, no 4 arms, 4 eyes, or 11 years of demolitions experience. Just a guy in a company store jacket that still said Precision Auto and Tire over the pocket, holding a thermos of gas station coffee. Vren looked him over. "This is the 4th member." "Apparently," Thessaly said, her amber glow deepening slightly. "He does not appear," Orsk grumbled. "Combat rated." Dale sipped his coffee. "I rotate tires for a living. I'll be fine." Nobody looked reassured. The translator boxes, Dale would later learn, did not do a great job conveying dry sarcasm, which was, in hindsight, going to cause several increasingly alarming misunderstandings. Comedy escalation loop. Gravity. Kestrel 9 possesses gravity 1.4 times galactic standard, Thessaly explained on the transport. Sustained exposure causes joint degradation in unconditioned physiology. Dale nodded slowly. "So like carrying groceries up from the basement. 4 flights. Both hands full." Thessaly's eyes rotated toward him in unison. "That is not an equivalent comparison." "It really is." "Atmosphere. The atmosphere contains trace sulfuric compounds," Vren added. "Unprotected exposure causes respiratory blistering within minutes." "Sounds like my uncle's basement when he does his welding hobby without opening the garage door." Dale shrugged. "Migraine, sure, but I lived." Vren's plating clicked in what Dale assumed was concern. "You survived a poison gas exposure recreationally?" "It wasn't recreational. It was Thanksgiving. Wildlife. The apex predator of Kestrel 9, Thessaly said, pulling up a hollow image of something with too many teeth and not enough eyes. Hunts in packs of 6, can strip a Voss researcher to bone in under 90 seconds. And tracks by seismic vibration." Dale studied the image. Coyotes got into our trash cans every night for a summer. Learned to walk soft and carry a flashlight. This creature, Orsk said flatly, is 4 meters tall. So was my ex-mother-in-law's opinion of me. You adjust. Terrain. The terrain includes acid, marshland spanning roughly 40% of the surface. Vren continued, voice tightening. Boots dissolve in under an hour without triple-sealed plating. We had a bog behind the house growing up. Lost 3 pairs of sneakers to it before. I learned to walk the fence line instead. Dale stretched his legs out. Same idea, just meaner mud. Thessaly's glow spiked bright amber. Vren. He is comparing a corrosive geological hazard to children's footwear. I am aware, Vren said. I do not know what to do with that information. Round 5, storms. Electrical storms on Kestrel 9 generate discharge events strong enough to disable heavy armor, Orsk said, and for the first time his rock-slide voice had gone quiet. We lost an entire squad to a single storm cell 3 years ago. Dale thought about it. Nebraska in tornado season. My dad used to just watch them from the porch with a beer. Said if it wanted the house, it was going to take the house. Silence in the transport. Your species, Thessaly finally said. Watches weather that kills experienced squads. From furniture. Lawn chairs mostly. Arrival and world reveal. Kestrel Nawa. Looked like something had taken a beautiful planet and put it through a wood chipper. The sky turned a sick greenish-orange, streaked with lightning that never seemed to fully stop. Jagged black rock formations jutted up like broken teeth, and somewhere past the ridgeline, something enormous let out a sound like tearing metal. The moment the transport doors opened, Vren's suit display lit up red across all 4 arms. Thessaly's skin flared a violent warning amber, servo motors in her environmental suit whining under the gravity load. Orsk's massive frame audibly creaked, joints compensating with hydraulic hisses. Dale stepped out in a standard-issue field jacket, boots and his gas station thermos, still half full. He took a breath, coughed once. Smells like the tannery my cousin worked at. Your vitals, Thessaly said, staring at her scanner, then staring at Dale, then staring at her scanner again, are normal. Gravity's a little heavy is all. Dale rolled his shoulders. Like carrying the good cooler. The one with the wheels that don't work. Vren's suit beeped an overload warning. How are you not on the ground? Dale looked down at his own 2 feet, planted casually in acid-streaked black dirt, thermos still in hand. Would it help, he asked, if I acted more surprised? Nobody answered. The wind screamed. Something in the distance screamed back. The marsh. The squad's first obstacle was the acid marsh Vren had warned about. A quarter-mile stretch of viscous, black sludge that ate through their triple-sealed boot plating in under 40 minutes. Full protocol required a suspension cable crossing rig, 40 minutes of setup, and constant chemical neutralizer spray. Dale walked the exposed root line along the marsh's edge, stepping stone to stone like he was crossing a creek to check a fishing line, and reached the other side while the squad was still bolting down the rig. There's a dry path if you go by the tall reeds, he called back. Same as ours back home. Snakes hide in the wet parts, not the high grass. Orsk stared at the rig, then at Dale, then quietly began packing it back up. The storm. The predicted electrical storm hit at dusk, forcing the squad into full defensive posture. Shielded trench, grounding rods, insulated tarps, helmets sealed. Thessaly monitored. Discharge readings that spiked, past lethal thresholds every 90 seconds. Dale sat on an overturned supply crate outside the trench, drinking the last of his thermos coffee, watching the light show. Dale, get down, Vren barked over comms. It's got a rhythm to it, Dale said. Count between flashes. You'll see it's not random, comes in 3s, then a lull. Storm back home did the same thing. My dad timed his cigarette breaks to it. Nobody moved for a full 10 seconds after the 3rd. Flash lull hit exactly on schedule. The Predator pack. The 6-creature pack Thessaly had warned about, found them on day 7. Seismic tracking through the rock field, toward the squad's position. Full combat protocol, energy shields raised. Orsk on heavy weapons, Vren on point. Thessaly coordinating retreat vectors. Dale, 20 feet from the group, was quietly stacking rocks. Kowalski, move! Vren shouted. They track vibration, right? Same as how you scare deer off. You don't run. You don't freeze, you just make it boring. Dale kept stacking, slow and steady, no sudden rhythm to his footsteps. The pack circled, seismic sensors picking up nothing worth the chase, and eventually loped off toward louder, more interesting prey, namely Orsk's power generator. That, Orsk said afterward, voice unusually quiet, should not have worked. Grandma's yard had raccoons the size of dogs. You learn to be boring. But a squad log Thessaly Prime Day 7. Entry note, subject continues to neutralize. Category 4 threats using methodology I can only describe as agricultural. Recommend further study. Recommend also that I stop recommending further study, because I do not believe our science has a category for this. The collapse. A tunnel collapse trapped. Orsk under 2 tons of unstable black rock during a resource scouting run. Air supply reading 40 minutes remaining. Vren called for heavy extraction gear, a full excavation team, structural bracing, a 6-hour operation at minimum. Dale looked at the rock pile, looked at the angle of the slide, and started wedging his multi-tool jack under the largest slab. This is exactly like when the jack stand slipped on my buddy's truck, he said, cranking slowly, patiently, watching the load shift. You don't yank it. You find the one point holding the rest up and you ease it. The slab groaned, shifted 6 inches, and the load redistributed enough for Orsk to drag himself free with 31 minutes of air to spare. Orsk didn't say anything for a long time. Then I owe you a debt, small human. You owe me a beer. Smaller ask. Status flip. By the second week, something had shifted. Vren stopped calling maneuvers before checking Dale's read on the terrain first. Thessaly started logging Dale's mundane comparisons as legitimate field data. Orsk walked a half step behind him now. Not in front, and the position on his homeworld, reserved for someone you trusted with your life. You're not weak, Vren said one evening, watching Dale calmly patch a suit seal with duct tape from his own kit. You're simply calibrated differently. Everything's dangerous if you've never done it before, Dale said, not looking up. Everything's Tuesday if you have. Thessaly's skin for once glowed a steady, contented blue. Cliffhanger close. They found the structure on day 14, buried half a mile under the black rock, humming with a power signature Thessaly's scanners had no reference for. Ancient. Enormous. Awake. That, Thessaly said quietly, should not be generating an active energy field. Nothing on this planet should be generating an active energy field. Vren's 4 hands tightened around his weapon. Command gave us no data on structures beneath the surface. Dale crouched at the edge of the newly exposed chasm, staring down into a darkness that seemed to be staring back, and set his empty thermos down on the rock beside him. Huh, he said in the same tone he'd used for the marsh. The storm, the predator pack, the collapse. Except this time, for the first time since they'd landed, Dale Kowalski didn't immediately have a folksy comparison ready. Y'all seeing this too, right? Something deep in the chasm began very slowly to hum back.